Majestic souls rise and gather, come forward with the gravity of storms and the quiet certainty of mountains, because this message is meant for the hidden part of you that most people never truly see. Welcome to a moment that will not whisper your name, but will echo it. A moment that understands the weight you carry, the shadows that followed you, and the truth you tried to outrun. Welcome to a voice that does not fear your darkness, a voice that looks straight into the depth of who you are and refuses to flinch. Welcome to the turning point you never asked for, but absolutely needed. Because of what people discovered about you, a special team stepped in. Not a team of rescuers, not a team of judges, but a team trained to recognize a rare pattern, a rare intensity, a rare type of potential buried under layers of silence, doubt, and past battles you never spoke about. They stepped in because something about your story didn't match the version of you that you told the world. They saw the fracture lines, yes, but they also saw what was glowing through them. They saw a power you didn't realize you were carrying. They saw a capacity for growth and force and transformation that most people can't even imagine. They stepped in because the world needed someone like you awake, not wandering half asleep in your own life, not shrinking to fit the expectations of people who never understood your depth. You don't recognize who you are, and that has been the greatest tragedy of your journey. You thought you were ordinary because life taught you to minimize yourself. You thought you were replaceable because someone once treated you that way. You thought your failures defined your limit instead of sharpening your edge. But this team, this intervention of fate, this moment that feels like an unexpected spotlight, is here to tell you that you are far from ordinary. You have lived through storms that would have crushed others. You have carried burdens that would have broken those who seem stronger on the surface. You have walked alone in chapters where most people would have begged for help. And yet here you stand, misunderstood perhaps, underestimated certainly, but undeniably unbroken. You may think your scars are proof of weakness, but they are records of strength. You may think your silence is a sign of defeat, but it is actually the stillness before your next arrival. You may think the world has already decided who you are, but let me tell you something powerful and unshakable. The world has no authority over your identity. It can guess, it can assume, it can speculate, but it cannot define. You are the only one who carries the blueprint of your own evolution. You are the only one who knows what fires you have survived. You are the only one who can rise in the exact shape you choose. There have been moments when you tried to disappear into the background because you were tired of being misunderstood. Moments when you wanted to give less of yourself because people demanded too much and gave too little. Moments when you believed your dreams were unreasonable, your strength was invisible, and your presence was forgettable. Yet even in those moments, there was something inside you that refused to dissolve. Something that kept you standing, even when you wanted to fall. Something that kept you alive, even when you felt hollow. That something is why they stepped in. That something is why you're listening now. Because of what people discovered about you, they saw you were not drifting aimlessly, but actually standing at the edge of transformation. They saw you were not falling apart, but shedding an old version of yourself that no longer served you. They saw you weren't failing, you were preparing. But preparation is often mistaken for defeat by those who don't understand the rhythm of becoming. And you, whether you realized it or not, have been becoming something extraordinary. You don't recognize who you are because your reflection has been fogged by the expectations of others. You've been viewing yourself through the lens of past disappointments instead of future potential. You've been measuring your worth by moments when you were tired, not moments when you were powerful. But the fog is clearing now, slowly, quietly. uncomfortably. And what's emerging isn't fragile, it isn't small, it isn't temporary. What's emerging is the version of you that always existed beneath the surface, the version of you that was waiting for the right moment to show itself. You're not standing in the ruins of your life, you're standing in the workshop of your rebuilding. And rebuilding requires patience. Rebuilding requires honesty. Rebuilding requires the courage to confront what you've been running from. But most importantly, rebuilding requires a willingness to believe that something greater is possible for you, even when nothing around you has changed yet. You were not put through hardship to become bitter. You were put through hardship to become unshakable. You were not abandoned by people because you lacked value. You were abandoned because your path required solitude. You were not overlooked because you were insufficient. You were overlooked because your destiny is not tied to those who failed to see you. Your story isn't shaped by those who left. It is shaped by the version of you that is rising right now. You don't recognize who you are because you have outgrown the earlier chapters of your life. You are no longer the person who tolerated mistreatment. You are no longer the person who hid their gifts to make others comfortable. You are no longer the person who dimmed their light to avoid drawing attention. That version of you served its purpose, but now it's time to evolve. And that evolution is exactly why this moment feels heavy. Transformation never arrives gently. It arrives with pressure, with questions, with unexpected turns. It arrives disguised as confusion, as discomfort, as doubt. But beneath that disguise is the new identity that is trying to break through. The identity you will eventually step into, with clarity and strength. The identity that has been calling you quietly for years. Because of what people discovered about you, a special team stepped in to remind you that you were never meant to be the background character in your own life. You were never meant to shrink. You were never meant to be silent. You were designed to endure long nights, not to stay in them, but to emerge from them with a depth that cannot be taught and cannot be replaced. When you finally recognize who you are, you will realize that every setback was instruction, every heartbreak was redirection, every loss was preparation, and every doubt was a doorway. You will realize you have been powerful all along, just untrained. You will realize you have been rare all along, just unclaimed. And when that realization hits, you will step forward, not with arrogance, but with purpose. Not with noise, but with undeniable presence. So listen closely now. Your life has been waiting for this awakening. Your potential has been waiting for your permission. Your future has been waiting for you to stop apologizing for the magnitude of your spirit. You are not who you were. You are not who they said you were. You are not the version of yourself shaped by fear or fatigue. You are becoming someone stronger, wiser, more focused, and more capable than you ever imagined. You don't recognize who you are, but you will. And when you do, the world will recognize you too. And as you stand on this threshold between the person you were and the person you are becoming, something inside you begins to shift. It's subtle at first, almost like a forgotten heartbeat waking up again, but it grows stronger with every breath you take. It is the realization that you have spent too long living beneath your own potential, too long doubting yourself because others doubted you, too long believing that your past missteps determined your future path. But the truth is far deeper and far more liberating. Every moment of confusion refined you. Every sudden change sharpened you. Every silent night built resilience you still underestimate. And life, in its mysterious way, has been preparing you for an identity you cannot fully see yet, but are destined to grow into. You don't recognize who you are because the old version of you has been dissolving. You've been shedding beliefs, relationships, habits, and fears like worn-out layers. And as these layers fall away, what's left is someone you never expected to meet, someone who isn't governed by insecurity or hesitation anymore, someone who has walked through enough darkness to no longer fear it, someone who understands that being misunderstood doesn't mean you are broken. It means you carry depth others cannot interpret. Because of what people discovered about you, the special team didn't step in to fix you. They stepped in to awaken you. They saw the signs before you did. They saw the quiet strength hiding under exhaustion. They saw the determination hiding under uncertainty. They saw the fire hiding under ashes. They saw a mind that refuses to quit, a heart that refuses to harden, a spirit that refuses to disappear. They stepped in because the world has more use for who you are meant to become than you realize. And as you continue rising, layer by layer, something profound becomes clear. You no longer chase validation the way you once did. You no longer seek approval from those who misread your intentions. You no longer hold yourself back to remain acceptable to people who were never meant to understand your full capacity. You have been transforming in silence, and silence is the forge where strength is built. Silence is where clarity is born. Silence is where destiny sharpens its edges. You don't recognize who you are because the person you once were would not survive the path that lies ahead. That older version of you was created for survival, but the version you're stepping into now is designed for expansion. Growth doesn't come from comfort. Growth doesn't come from applause. Growth doesn't come from familiar surroundings that expect you to stay the same. Growth comes from challenge, from pressure, from the unknown. And you are now walking into the unknown with the strength you earned through every moment that once felt impossible. Because of what people discovered about you, you can no longer pretend to be small. You can no longer pretend that you don't care. You can no longer pretend that you're not capable of more. The truth has been exposed, not the truth of your flaws, but the truth of your potential. And potential is a responsibility. Potential is a calling. Potential is a quiet voice saying, you were made for more, and you know it. There will be moments when this transformation feels like too much. Moments when the weight of becoming feels heavier than the comfort of staying the same. But those moments are proof that you are evolving. Proof that the old identity is losing its hold. Proof that the new identity is demanding to be acknowledged. And whether you're ready or not, the shift is happening. Soon, you will look back at this period and realize it was the turning point. The moment your story changed direction. The moment you stopped dimming yourself. The moment you stopped underestimating your worth. The moment you began walking toward a future built by your own hands, not shaped by other people's opinions. Because of what people discovered about you, a special team stepped in to remind you that you are rare, that you are built differently, that you are not meant to follow the path everyone else takes. You are meant to carve your own. You are meant to move through darkness with a strength that others cannot comprehend. You are meant to transform so completely that even your reflection will pause in recognition. And when that day comes, when the new version of you finally stands tall, the world will feel it. Not because you will demand attention, but because your presence will carry a gravity it never had before. A quiet power, a collected force, a depth that tells the story of someone who has seen both the shadows and the light and learned to navigate both. You don't recognize who you are yet, but you will. And when the truth of your identity finally settles into your bones, you will move with purpose, speak with clarity, and rise with a strength that feels inevitable. You will no longer shrink. You will no longer doubt. You will no longer wait for permission to exist fully. Your transformation is not coming. It has already begun. And as this transformation continues unfolding inside you, something else becomes impossible to ignore. You begin to sense the difference between the person you once pretended to be and the person you were always meant to become. You start feeling the slow rise of clarity, the shift in your thoughts, the rebirth of inner strength that had been dormant for far too long. You notice that the doubts that once controlled you no longer feel as powerful. The fears that once froze you in place no longer hold the same weight. The opinions that once shaped your identity now drift past you without influence. This change does not announce itself loudly, but it reshapes everything within you quietly and steadily. You don't recognize who you are because you have outgrown the cage of your earlier identity. You have stepped beyond the walls you built to protect yourself. You have risen above the labels others gave you, and the journey has not been quick or easy. It has been carved from struggle, endurance, and relentless inner battles that no one else ever saw. People saw the surface. They missed the war inside. They saw the calm face. They missed the storms you survived. They saw the moments you hesitated. They missed the strength it took to continue. But the special team saw it. They recognized the pattern, the resilience, the unusual spark beneath your quiet exterior. They stepped in not because you were weak, but because you were becoming powerful in a way that required guidance, alignment, and awareness. Because of what people discovered about you, a new path has opened, a path that invites you to explore who you actually are when you stop trying to live through the expectations of others. For the first time, you are beginning to realize that you don't need to justify your strength, explain your intuition, or apologize for your evolution. You are not required to fit the old narratives anymore. You are not required to play small roles in other people's stories. You are not required to remain predictable or manageable or easily understood. You are allowed to become more than anyone expected. You are allowed to grow beyond every limitation you once believed was permanent. The more you evolve, the more you realize that becoming your true self is not a moment of sudden revelation. It is a continuous rise, a rise that demands courage, a rise that demands patience, a rise that demands the willingness to let go of parts of your past identity that can no longer survive the intensity of your future. And this rise does not need approval. It does not need applause. It does not need validation. It only needs your willingness to step forward, even when the road ahead is unclear. You don't recognize who you are because transformation has a strange way of shifting your internal landscape before the outside world notices. You feel it first. You sense the change. You carry the tension between what you used to be and what you're becoming. And in that tension, you may feel lost, uncertain, or restless. But that restlessness isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign of growth. It's your identity rearranging itself. It's your energy rewriting your direction. It's your spirit preparing to expand beyond every boundary that once confined you. Because of what people discovered about you, you cannot go back to who you were. Not because the past was terrible, but because the future requires something different from you. It requires the version of you that isn't hesitant, the version of you that isn't afraid to take up space, the version of you that isn't defined by old pain, the version of you that knows what it took to survive and what it will take to rise. You may not see it clearly yet, but your strength is beginning to gather like a storm on the horizon. Quiet, but powerful. Slow, but inevitable. It builds with each breath you take. It grows each time you choose to move forward instead of turning back. It expands each time you refuse to settle for less than the life you know you're capable of creating. And this strength is not loud. It is not boastful. It is not aggressive. It is the quiet, steady force of someone who has spent enough time doubting themselves and is now ready to step into certainty. You don't recognize who you are because the new you doesn't operate from fear. The new you doesn't shrink when challenged. The new you doesn't break when pressured. The new you understands that challenges are not barriers, but signals. Signals that something greater is waiting beyond the struggle. Signals that your potential is calling for more expression, more courage, more commitment. And you are answering that call, even if you don't realize it fully yet. Because of what people discovered about you, this journey is no longer just about survival. It is about mastery. Mastery of your emotions, mastery of your focus, mastery of your purpose, mastery of the inner world that shapes the outer world. And mastery requires transformation. It requires the willingness to confront your shadows rather than hide from them. It requires embracing the parts of yourself you once believed were flaws, only to discover they were strengths waiting for refinement. It requires looking directly at your fears and recognizing that they no longer have authority over your decisions. You don't recognize who you are because you are in the middle of evolution. And evolution always feels unfamiliar. It always feels uncomfortable. It always feels like stepping into a version of yourself that is too large, too bright, too powerful to comprehend at first. But with each passing moment, you are growing into it. You are earning it. You are becoming aligned with it. And once this alignment fully settles, the world around you will adjust to your new presence. Because of what people discovered about you, the narrative has changed. Your story is no longer about what you went through. It is about what you are rising into. Not about the chapters that wounded you, but about the chapters that will reveal your strength. Not about who doubted you, but about who you will become despite that doubt. Not about the identity you inherited, but about the identity you are creating from within. You don't recognize who you are yet, but soon you will not only recognize yourself, you will respect yourself in ways you never have before. You will admire the resilience you once overlooked. You will honor the journey you once questioned. You will embrace the power you once doubted. And when that day arrives, everything around you will shift. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. And the world has no choice but to respond. Your rise is not a possibility, it is a certainty. And now, as every moment of your journey gathers into this final breath, understand one truth that has waited patiently for you to be ready. You are no longer the person who entered this path with trembling hands and hidden doubts. You have walked through your own shadows and discovered that they could not break you. You have faced truths that others would have run from. You have endured silence that could have crushed lesser hearts. And through it all, something within you refused to disappear. That refusal is your power. That endurance is your identity.